Jing, 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 jing. Night moon. I don't remember. Night moon. That's it. That's all I got. Let's start the show. We're going to do a better version of that next week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Working on the Night Moon. That was all I had. Okay, we're workshop.
We got more later.
Yeah, fine. Had a month to put it together. Fine. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Smokin Phat J. With me, as always, James Kopp and Matt Christy.
How's it going?
For our, basically, this is our new series. Fine, I'll watch that.
Yeah.
Which is going to be whatever the hell I watch at any given time. We will try to keep up to date with the popular series like we are tonight with Moon Knight, the newest Disney Plus Marvel series, with episode 1, which is called
The Goldfish Problem.
The Goldfish Problem. We're going to get all into that. Before we do, make sure you guys like and subscribe to all the Canoodle Studios things on all the things that you may be watching right now.
What were you saying, James?
Real quick before we get into the episode, can we go around the room and talk about what is your guys' past with Night Moon? Do you know the character? Do you like the character? What are the stuff that sticks out?
I don't mind. The name of our show. What's your experience? The name of our show, not the character Moon Knight. The name of our show, Night Moon. His evil brother.
My experience is I have read 3 issues of this comic back in '96. Right. And I read it for the artwork. So that tells you where I'm at with Night Moon. So as far as what I was expecting.
Please call him Night Moon for the rest of the whole series.
Oh, he will.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
But real quick, I'll add to that. What was your comic take on Night Moon?
I thought the costume was it was a little like making clan members jealous. Like, I'm sure they looked at the costume and they were like, we could have been cooler. Like, it's the coolest clan member costume you will ever see. And as far as the comic, the 3 that I barely remember that I read, it literally was like him fighting another sorcerer. And so they were just doing magic shit the whole time, which felt more like a Doctor Strange comic book than anything else. So I didn't care. Yeah. Honestly, I'm going into this series a little bit like how I went into Guardians of the Galaxy. I did read some Guardians of the Galaxy comics more than Night Moon here. And Guardians
Most of us from our era just knew Guardians of the Galaxy as being the joke of the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And so, which is a great place to start from. You're starting from nothing. What are you going to bring? What are you going to do? Which is actually kind of exciting. If you're making a Spider-Man movie, a Batman movie, a lot of us have expectations of what you need to do and why you should do it. Those characters have millions and millions of fans that are shelling money out every year for them. When you're making a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, you have dozens and dozens of fans you need to answer to, which is a lot easier to decide to change.
Well, not Guardians of the Galaxy volume, the first one, but yeah, like Avengers, things like that. How about you, Matt?
Unless you're DC Warner Brothers and you're making a Superman movie, then you just do whatever the fuck you want, piss all over the character as much as you can. I know the name Moon Knight. I knew the look of Moon Knight, and that's about all. I mean, that wasn't one that I really was into. I didn't even know the split personality thing until recently. I didn't know who was under the costume, or that the costume was more metaphysical as opposed to an actual physical costume. So, yeah.
Well, okay, so I know a little bit more. There was a Mark Waid series from like 2015 that when I had the comic book shop, it was what made everyone give a shit enough to make Moon Knight a series. All right, it was from that. Same with Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, had a 2012 to 2014 something series. It really, before that, it was that weird scene where you got Sylvester Stallone in the second series, like it wasn't Star-Lord and all these people. Like Guardians of the Galaxy was a totally different thing until, around the 2010s. Same with Moon Knight. Moon Knight had his opening in Werewolf by Night. I never read that. Okay, I didn't read any of these things until later when I watched YouTube videos about Moon Knight after I fell in love with that Mark Waid series, which introduced a lot of these things, which are his multiple personalities, dissociative identity disorder or whatever, and these things that we're seeing in this series. I also think that a lot of people who are, I don't know, I haven't watched this, but maybe people are shitting on like they do everything of this is not exactly like whatever this thing that I'm going to talk about. Most of those people are probably disingenuous. This was known as the Batman ripoff in Marvel for a very long time. They changed what he was fundamentally within the last 10 to 12 years. And that's why we're seeing this now. And we're going to see a Marvel iteration of this, just as we've seen Infinity War, just as we've seen Civil War. And, we'll talk about how we feel.
I mean, that change, though, for the Batman correlation was the biggest change for what I've read up on and everything like that. The Stephen Grant character was a pretend playboy millionaire as that personality and not this loser.
Also,
nebbish
also there's been almost no, like, I'm a superhero and I have these extra abilities thing with Moon Knight. Moon Knight was mainly a guy who was crazy and put on a suit, which is why he was drawn with Batman so much in a lot of ways. In this, it seems it's much more supernatural. And maybe even they play it more the Jekyll and Hyde Hulk, where it's like, only when I'm in this persona, I am that. Or, what was the other one? What's the M. Night Shyamalan? Split or whatever, you know what I mean? Maybe even kind of that, which I'm okay with. Like, I'm okay with playing in those zones.
I'm fine
if you're going to do it right.
I'm fine if they just do the two Mark Spector and Stephen Grant characters. They don't necessarily have to go into the third or the fourth one. I mean, they can.
Well, they're obviously doing Khonshu. Like, they're obviously going to be the third.
No, Khonshu's not one of the personalities. Khonshu is the spirit.
True.
Who designates Mark Spector as his avatar. So that's why he has the powers. Right. But there's actually a third and then a fourth personality, which I don't remember the names of.
The third one is like a cab driver that does the underworld, and then you have like a little girl or something like that they did for a bit. But
yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I'm fine if they don't do those two. It'll just be interesting going forward how much they do Mark Spector.
It gives you something to do later, too.
Yeah.
Because this is a character that has at least a baseline of things to pull from where, we did an episode of Get Nerdy. We talked about Batman and shit, how, they take a bunch of these iconic things. Moon Knight doesn't have iconic. It has maybe some good to great ideas that have happened throughout their series. Yes, this is where you take those and build it into something that is a better character arc. This is where you have that room to do that.
Do that.
Do that.
The iconic for Moon Knight is the look of the character Moon Knight. I mean, people like me, didn't know jack shit about it until I read up and stuff. But even people who didn't bother reading up and stuff, I'm sure a number of them would recognize the look of Moon Knight. Right. I've seen that before.
AKA the creators of Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a meme I should have did right there.
Yeah, damn it. We'll add it later. But yeah, it's like the look of Moon Knight is what the most iconic thing about it is. And so basically for most people, you kind of do whatever you want with it as long as you stay within close to what the story is. But we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, that's how we all feel about Moon Knight going into this. Before we get into our rundown, real quick, just an overview. What did you guys think at the end of the first episode? What were your thoughts and feelings overall for this episode? Did you love? But
I liked it. I'm not sure if I want the full series to be focused on the Stephen Grant character. I mean, it depends how they go forward with it, because obviously now they set up that Stephen Grant isn't the one that has access to the Moon Knight persona. It's only Mark Spector who does. So, are we going to get Stephen Grant, Oscar Isaac, the entire series that Moon Knight isn't on screen, or are we going to get some Mark Spector along with him?
I'll go next. I agree with you that like, I won't be satisfied if they stick with this Stephen Grant. We're not showing you the Mark Spector side enough. I want a split of that. Honestly, this is maybe the most like, I didn't know how to feel about this in the beginning. Like, we've talked about a lot of these. Okay, even when, like, the last Hawkeye series, where it was like I didn't give a shit until I gave a shit, of like the last trailer, I really didn't know how to feel about this series and where it fit in from the beginning. This is the first Marvel series. I don't care how. I honestly love this. This is my favorite first episode of a Marvel series that we've had. Okay. And I really tried to like have this conversation with myself throughout the day, where it was like I was taking things into context, how I felt about like WandaVision when these first series happened, and just kind of and really like, I don't like, this is a character, like you said, like a Guardians of the Galaxy, that you can take and make whatever you want. You can make him mean as much or as little within this universe, this amazing Marvel universe that no matter how much we may sit on this show and shit on things, like, that is a feat beyond anything that I think any of us self-proclaimed artists could ever say we'd imagined would have happened. Like, as even comic book people, like, we never discarded for this amount of, content within our nerd realm to happen from here. And I'm curious to see how far or whatever they go. But I think that, before we get into the fundamentals of it, I think that this episode, it shows us a lot of things that I feel like they're telling us are going to happen. We are going to see every scene where Steven blacked out later. Like, maybe if they're smart, out of 6 episodes, it's next episode. And I think next episode might either shit on or justify everything I say tonight. But I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it wasn't hype. Like, the things that they did were not hype. They showed us nothing outside of it. They gave us, though, I thought it was very impressive to give us the villain in the very first part, and a ton of the villain throughout. Like, this is something we've complained about on several episodes, where are we by episode 3? I know what's happening in the show. Episode 1. I don't think I can say that in any other Marvel show that I've watched as much as I've liked it. So, anyways, that's where I go. James, go.
For me, it was too bland. Both of you are right. It has these moments, it has these things, and there is reason to be excited, just like with Guardians of the Galaxy. However, this is a 40-plus minute first episode. The first 40 minutes of Guardians of the Galaxy, I know who Star-Lord is. I know what his wants and desires are. I know how he's going to go through and get this stuff. I don't know 90 McMoon's fucking Poe Gunnership Derek or whatever Dune. I don't know what his motivation is, and I don't know what he wants or anything, because nothing is said. He obviously is going through a really hardship with this, going in and out, but other than seeing him just have a breakdown at a restaurant, they didn't really get into it too much. Now, I know this is the first episode, but for me, that kind of gave it a grayness of, I wanted to see something. And we saw certain things, but I didn't really I didn't really. Oh, nothing blew me away. Nothing got me really excited. It did feel like a lot of the other Marvel shows in that respect, where it was like, I will watch more of this, but you didn't do anything really in the first episode that got me like excited about these characters.
I feel, and I mean, my rating will. I haven't given a final in my head what it's going to be just yet for this episode, but this is an episode that I'm fine with the experiment. That this is a character that you don't know in the first place. We're not going to just beat it over the head and say, this is what he is to you. We're going to create some sort of mystery surrounding it. And then by the end, hook you to hope you watch the rest of it. Mm-hmm. Episode 2 will determine how good this episode ultimately is, I think.
I agree with you 100%, but I think that just maybe my just enthusiasm for what it is, it feels like this is the character to do that. Because I agree with you. We have not given you the character Moon Knight's motivation yet. But I understand what Steven's motivation. Yeah. Like I understand so much about him, and the MacGuffin of this is what is happening when Steven is asleep? You know what I mean? Like, what is that? I just see it as a whole different type of storyline. Look, we'll get into our memes of how this is Fight Club and how this is all these other things. But it is. But I'm in for that. Like, I'm in for the what do I do while I'm not around type of a thing. And yes, time management. Time management may be the biggest complaint I've ever had about any Marvel or any of these shows we've talked about is how are you managing the time that you are given to tell this story? Sometimes they're gilding the lily for far too many episodes. And I feel like this has given me a concept where if I'm watching a movie that is generally 2 hours long, this is the excitement that I want to know in the first. Okay, and I'm good with that. Okay, I'm kind of coming around to that ideal that this is how we're telling stories. And I don't dislike that because I like doing these shows with you guys and just totally, having these things and maybe that's the thing that these fuckers who are trying to get all of our, money, understand that.
They got our money.
Yeah, they got our money, money. Like, even if, no matter what our variation of how we feel about this, like all of us, probably even if we didn't, James Kopp might have never watched this show if we didn't do this show, okay? But I think that if each of us watched this first episode, we would all, at very least, watch the second.
Oh, yes. No, definitely.
Yes, I would. If we weren't doing this and I watched the first episode, I would want to see the next two. And I didn't like this episode. So it's like that. I'll say that for it.
Okay.
Like where it's like, to me, the overall episode was very bland. I don't think we got the motivation of the lead character. I don't think we got any real insight into anything. And it's, the first episode of Moon Knight not included because he's in like 1 minute of the episode. And but at the same time,
not even a minute.
Not even a minute. Yeah.
It's maybe 10
Egyptian
seconds.
Dog and...
Yeah.
10 to 15.
Yeah, he pulls a Thanos at the end of Avengers. So it's but there was still things in this. Poe Gunnership, Dooney Doon did a great job. He's fucking acting his ass off, and the world they set up was interesting enough.
F. Murray Abraham.
Yes,
that's why there's a meme later.
I really like
he?
that. He's been in a million things. Please,
I know. Amadeus and Grand Budapest Hotel. Who is in the show?
He's the voice of Khonshu.
He's the voice of Khonshu, the one that's talking in his head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
let's go through our 2-hour recap of this 43-minute episode.
Spoilers,
everything.
If you watched this episode by now, you could have gotten through half the episode by this. So,
If you have Disney Plus, you already got an email about it. It's not on us.
yeah, and a push notification, and all the other things. So we open on, I think, first time in a TV series. I know we had it in a movie, but first time in a TV series, we open on our villain character, Arthur Harlow, going through some sort of ritual.
Played by Ethan Hawke.
Played wonderfully by Ethan Hawke. Mm-hmm. Going through some sort of a ritual of his where he sets out a glass, takes a shot, down, breaks the glass with his special double-headed alligator cane, and then proceeds to do his version of self-flagellation by putting the glass in his sandals and then walking out of his sanctuary, whatever it is that he's in.
I wanted bloody glass to fall out of the back of those sandals the whole time.
Yeah.
My thought during that scene was, hey.
In the comic book, there would have been blood or something.
Probably.
Yeah, totally.
But my thought during that was, hey, remember when we ditched the best sound editing Oscar presentation live on the air? They're the people that make the sound of the glass in his feet as he's walking along in the sandals.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I did think that was a great. Fucking religious people, you all try too hard.
Yeah.
If you want to hurt yourself, you don't need to break up the glass and put it in your shoes and walk in it. Jesus is fine, or whatever, whatever you're fucking worshiping, you fucking goon. Like, you're just trying too hard. So
no, his is Amit.
Huh?
His is Amit.
Amit.
Yeah.
Amotep?
Amit.
No, not Imhotep. Amit.
It's probably Amotep.
Oh,
I'm right.
But yeah, we'll get there because Black Panther's in there too, right?
He's part of that.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a great series. I'm gonna have to remember all the Egyptians because you drunkards are never going to remember.
I know
Fraser?
Khonshu, and I didn't even know Amit, which I thought I knew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
and Rufio.
So after that,
hippo one,
the hippo.
Yeah, the Egyptian god Rufio.
The gift shop hippo.
He's the god with the hair.
The gift shop hippo. Amit's actually part hippo. So then we got that to the opening credits, which they've taken Spider-Man back off because Sony will not let them play with Spider-Man, and they've added Eternals onto it because that's a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we cut to
and Shang-Chi.
Well, Shang-Chi I'm fine with, but Eternals. Then we cut to our protagonist of this episode, or whatever you want to call him, Mr. Stephen Grant, waking up in bed. And he has this little ritual he goes through where he unstraps himself from a bed that he's tied himself down to. He steps out onto sand that he has placed around the foot of his bed. He goes and takes tape off his door, which is all to show that, hey, something's going on. Whether he's a sleepwalker or what he is specifically, something's going on, and he wants to prove what he's doing to himself somehow. And then we're introduced to his little one-finned fish, Gus, while he's talking to
Nemo.
Yeah, sure, Nemo. While he's talking to his supposed mother on the phone, or at least leaving a long message for this supposed person who is his mother. We go through his awkward routine of leaving home, almost missing the bus, falling asleep on the bus, find out he's this little nebbish gift shop clerk at the local museum.
And there's a couple important things that happen in this scene. One, he attacks a small business owner, the broom guy. You know, he totally talks shit to him. And then he goes to the museum and he starts harassing an underage girl. And his boss comes up and doesn't say, "Hey, pervert, quit talking to the girl." So they say, "You'll never be a tour guide," which is a fucking volunteer job.
Tour guide.
You're not tough enough to be a tour guide, pal. It's a volunteer job. Every tour guide at every museum is getting paid like a bag of Funyuns and $4.
Right.
And But so this character's goal and motivation to have that, and he can't have it, is just like, oh my God, we're trying way too hard to make he's pathetic. If you didn't know, he's pathetic.
Yeah. But you assigned a tough gangster persona to his boss as opposed to Rebel Wilson from the the Acapella movies.
Oh yeah,
Because that was
Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect. Yeah, that was the voice accent that his boss had the entire time. Rebel Wilson.
Yeah.
Accent. But yeah, it's a whole bunch of scenes from that point of how shitty his life is. Just poor little shop clerk. But suppose he has this hot girl he's going on a date with.
Right.
That he doesn't remember.
They say he's a vegan, but he made a date at the steakhouse. Right.
So what's going on here?
Like, they do a lot of setup. But again, like 15 minutes in a movie, like all this stuff sets up, I feel like, again, depending upon what we see in the next episode, sets up what we need, I think, for the series. And, I'm just leaning towards giving it to Marvel to, like, they feel like they've learned from their minor mistakes more than anyone that's ever, I guess, against rather than Boba Fett. That's
Star Wars. That's not part of Marvel.
Right.
But I also think, I think there is a shift in Hollywood that's been happening the last 5 years, and I will give it my thumbs up of saying something should be a movie, something should be an ongoing TV show, and something should be a mini series. I didn't see it, but the Tommy Lee and Pam Anderson tape thing on Hulu, everybody's saying is like perfect. And it wouldn't have worked as a movie because each episode is from a different person's point of view of the tape. Right. Pam Anderson's point of view, Tommy Lee's point of view, the guy who stole it and sold its point of view. And it's like each episode is that smart. There's a show on Netflix called Midnight Mass where that's how you do a mini series.
Until
it's still
the last episode.
Yeah, it's like every episode something big happens, and it's
but not
important
the last
to that episode.
The last episode was trash. Like I don't like how they finished that.
I mean, that was the ending. I think it was like the ending is everybody's gonna die. Or spoilers for that show.
I feel like Netflix already canceled it before it was over, and they were like.
Totally.
Yeah, let's just make it in right here.
They brought in Mark Millar to write the last episode.
There you go. But it's like I'm all for that. I want to say that I think one of the shows I was very excited for was WandaVision because the idea of doing it, by the time we got to the second episode and we realized, oh my God, they're going to do a different sitcom each week. This is brilliant. The thing that made me upset is none of the first 3 or 4 episodes don't have any weight to them. Nothing happens in them other than here's our formula, which is like, if you're doing a show, you got to give us more than what your formula is. You got to give us this episode exists for this reason. And this episode only exists to introduce us to an awkward character that can't be a tour guide. So, in that respect, I didn't care.
They give you more than that. I can't let you sit on that. Like they give you more than that in a comic book ideal. Like you're right. Yeah. They give us only a character that is an awkward, can't be a tour guide guy. But they also give us the ideal that this guy is not what he seems to be. He is also possibly this other guy that we don't know, and definitely this brutal superhero, again, Marvel Universe character that we've talked about this on several shows. Like Marvel's doing something that no one else has ever done. Okay, they know that there are superheroes in this universe. They don't need to dip back into that inkwell anymore. They just need to give you, this guy might not be normal. We're going to get to that later. That's not important to the storyline. The storyline is this guy who's an awkward guy who can't do this, that, again, stolen from Fight Club, might be more of a badass than he really seems to be. Oh, he works for a fucking... insurance company. What the fuck I don't know what he does in Fight Club.
Yeah.
But not really, because he's really doing all this other shit where he's James Bond
Yeah.
in this, or Jason Bourne or whatever it is in this other universe. And to me, it's like they're playing a game that has never been played before.
Well, it's characters that nobody knows, and it's characters as of right now that have absolutely no ties to anything that has ever been shown by Marvel.
Right. But it's a mesh of concepts that they are just banking on everyone knowing. Yeah. We know these ideas. We know this universe. They're doing something on a level that I think that regardless of, I mean, and this is just me out of this group, but regardless of how I feel about the actual thing, I'm looking at it more and more as like, I'm watching someone at least trying to do something that's never been done. At least in this medium. It's been done in comics forever, but it's never been done in this.
So, as if the show's not belaboring the point on this, not that I hated this, but we continue with the Stephen Grant character and how he is, because now after his shift is over and he's told that he's doing inventory at a set date in the future, now we cut to him outside at a fountain talking to a street performer who probably hates his life.
That gold guy with the little...
Because he's not allowed to shift positions ever because this guy is talking to him for who knows how long about his life and everything else like that.
Kind of a lazy way to give us exposition of like, he might as well have been talking to birds or anything, where it's just like, I'm going to tell you about me. So,
it's the Forrest Gump, but instead of people being able to leave if they wanted to, this guy can't leave.
Now, again, technically, that guy looks, the way that he's done, looks a lot like a guy from comic book that could be something later. So we're still talking about things that might make sense later, the same way we've kind of talked about everything from the beginning with WandaVision, where it's like, you really didn't like that first episode, though I did, but you didn't like it as much, but it kind of paid off later in some way.
That is very true, yeah.
The greatest things that were happening in these opening scenes, though, was the cinematography, especially at the end of him talking to the statue, where they have that shot of the reflection in the water, and you think you know what's going on in the reflection, and then it turns out that the camera's actually shooting the scene upside down, reflecting off the water, shooting what's actually going on down in the bottom half instead of the opposite way, which is what your figure would be happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. No, and the lead is solid. Dooney McDoon is fucking acting his ass off in this.
Yeah. I'll have to say a little bit, like, I think that some of that cinematography about how they really push the fucking mirrors like crazy. I wish it was a hair more subtle. If you're ripping off Fight Club anyway, we didn't know that shit until way later. Like, let me be more subtle with some of that. Okay? And I think that maybe it was a little on the nose with some of that mirror stuff. They maybe could have done half that, and I would have.
Maybe,
even though I very much liked this.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what they did with it.
Nothing wrong with that.
So now we go back to his apartment time, and he has this audio series that he listens to try to keep himself. A fun little montage of it repeating back and forth like it's going through multiple days. Playing with the Rubik's Cube on his bed, tossing it in the air and whatnot, reading books, doing some research on some Egyptian history, which he already showed that he had some knowledge of earlier on.
When he was picking up on a child.
Yeah. The interesting thing I found every time they did these types of scenes with him where he's not really speaking is the look and demeanor of him doesn't seem to be Stephen Grant. He looks a lot more serious. He looks a lot more contemplative of things that aren't necessarily what he's specifically doing. Whereas every time Steven's on, he just looks like he's lost and trying to figure things out a lot more. So I don't know if at that point that he's ever the other character we find out later, Mark Spector, or if it's just this weird look that weird performance that Oscar Isaac's giving.
It's something that I think that goes into the comics where there's this like nexus. Like I think that they are. I mean, who knows how far they'll delve into this, but I think he has some sort of nexus point, which in the comics where all of his personalities kind of can come in and do this. And this is something that's stolen from, Jesse will back me up. This is all, I don't know if it's stolen from, but it's very similar to the DC character. What's the girl's name? In Doom Patrol? What's her name? I can't remember, but there's a girl in Doom Patrol that has this very similar kind of a thing. She is almost a cooler character because each of her personalities has a different superpower. Crazy Jane.
Nice.
All right. And her main one that comes out, which is not actually her true one, spoilers, has no superpower, but she's just kind of a fun character that goes through that. So that's kind of what they're playing, whereas Steven is the non-superpowered version of Mark Spector, which happens to be the Avatar.
Yeah.
But I honestly think I think later that's going to be a big fucking problem. If we're pulling from, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which Hulk very much pulled from, which Venom kind of pulled from, which, I guess you could even say Fight Club pulled from, the conflict in that is that you find out that there is a creature living inside you or another side of you that is doing horrible things. And how do you deal with that?
But how is that any different than the Hulk? That's the Hulk. It's no different.
I know. But what I'm saying, that's the Hulk. But if Moon Knight, Nighty Moon, whatever the fuck this guy's name is, if he's doing great things like saving the world, that makes you the fucking problem. That makes you suck. Like the whole point of Banner's thing is I have to overcome this horrible monster because he can kill all of you. Mr. Hyde is raping and murdering women. Venom, if left unchecked, is going to eat your brain, Spider-Man. So it's like we have these Jekyll and Hyde characters, and the reason why it works, I think, at a subconscious level is us trying to deal with the fact that, like, how can a human do horrible things and still live with themselves? Now, if your Mr. Hyde is saving the world, then that fundamentally changes everything, because then you just become this whiny piece of shit that can't even land a fucking tour job, which I don't know this show and I don't know the character well enough to say that. And you guys are right. Episodes 2 and 3 are very important for the show, because either we're going to start seeing some real groundwork or some things are going to start really paying off. But until then, so far, all we've seen is your persona do nothing. Bruce Banner was one of the most intelligent scientists of his time. Dr. Jekyll was one of the most intelligent minds of his time. We get more of a Tyler Durden Fight Club thing where it's your persona is doing nothing. It just exists. So I don't know if that works as strongly.
But that's also interesting about Fight Club. Edward Norton's character is a nobody. He is nothing.
But we, as the movie goes on, we realize how toxic or horrible Tyler Durden is.
And that's
we think Tyler Durden's the cool guy.
Important what the next 2 episodes do, because they're not telling that story of how detrimental that is. They need to tell it as how much greater you are. And I think that one of the interesting things is what if that persona was never really this real person? Like the person that we see right now was never like, we're assuming in this episode, because it's served to us first, that this is the persona of whatever this person was born to be. Or, like, what if Mark Spector is the real person that this person was born as, and he created this persona to be a separate thing for him? Like, most of these multiple personality or dissociative identity disorders, we're introduced to the main persona first. What if we hasn't been done? Like, that's brilliant. You accuse me of writing the story for these people a lot of times, but like, that's amazing if that's what they've done in this.
If that's what it is, yeah.
Well, the comic series, Mark Spector is the primary character. And like I said, the character of Stephen Grant is a secondary character written later when they decided to give him that as a part of his overall persona.
Right.
So, knowing that going into that Mark Spector is the primary, it's interesting that they've gone the route of Stephen Grant being the character that's focused on in the first episode. And Mark Spector is kind of hidden away until one little part, 3/4 of the way through, and then at the very end.
It reminds me of actually a Batman animated series with Scarf and the ventriloquist, where Batman like talks to the ventriloquist and gets him to understand that like that's not his thing. Like, I think you can have almost that opposite, where as if Scarface was like the persona, but the badass, whatever. I think you could have kind of the opposite situation. I think that could be a good storyline that's very interesting. It's something they could play upon. You're right. This is not, if I was watching a normal television show, like, I would not be in for at least a couple seasons like I was with like Law, which I'm not saying they earned those 2 seasons, but I'm saying that like that first episode
season was really intriguing. The first
made
season
me
of Lost
watch
was really intriguing.
longer than I should have. Okay,
Yeah.
But
this needs to pay off in 2 to 3 episodes, and I think that it is doing something that's very different. That they're giving me 45 minutes this week. It's almost like they're serving me a movie, really. It's a miniseries. It's a miniseries. It's a miniseries.
I mean, we can talk about it later too. But I mean, a lot of people who do.
How many people watch The Langoliers? Like, did you watch that? Did you?
You're gonna Will Smith's gonna smack the shit out of you.
Bad 90s CGI.
A fucking dated comedy reference. Will Smith will smack the shit out of you. I'm telling you.
Balky.
Langoliers.
Dear God.
Like, if the next episode starts with fucking Dooney McDoon playing a different version, like we don't have any connection to this one, it's him in a different world, I'll sign up for Disney Plus for 5 years. Like, it's like, that would be such a smart move to go like, he's multiple different characters. In each episode, we're going to be following a different persona of him. I don't think the writers are that smart or that have that much faith in the audience. I think they're going to spoon feed us through this one all the way through the season.
Oscar Isaac is producer on this. Of course, most of the main actors are producers on their own series. Huh? Who's that?
Who's that?
Who's that? That's Apocalypse from X-Men Apocalypse.
He's Dooney McDoon. His name is Dooney McDoon. All right. Get it right, Christy.
Ex Machina.
There you go.
No, I'm saying is...
That's when you refer to him when you're talking about Dune, Beardy McBeard, okay? Like, it's Beardy McBeard. Dooney McDoon in this series, and we'll go further.
Poey McFlyboy, is that what you call him for Star Wars?
I'll give him separate for that.
Poe Gunnership, I think I called him.
That's right, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, Alex Knack, who has done shows with us, he said Ivan Ooze from the X-Men movies.
Ivan Ooze, Apocalypse.
Yes.
I know, but that's perfect. And I told him that is a perfect joke because it is Ivan Ooze from the Apocalypse movie.
What I was saying here real briefly was that the big YouTube reviewers and everything like that, this is the first series that they actually showed multiple episodes as a preview type thing. And depending on who you were, you either saw the first 2 or the first 4. Nobody's seen beyond the first 4 of the 6. They're saving the 5 and 6 for whatever later. So people have perspective. They haven't really talked about it because it's still kind of an embargo until the episode's released, but it's been positive so far. So
yeah, I haven't found a bad review for Night Moon. I've seen hesitant reviews where they're like, this could be something, it could not.
Yeah.
But all
most
the reviews
of the
have been pretty
reviews
positive.
have said, honestly, about like how drawn out these things tend to feel. Is that it feels like they saw a certain chunk, but when they go back and they think about it, if I hadn't saw this, and this happen, which were over, at least 1.5, 2.5 episodes, that like they weren't totally in to that point, which I think is just a thing that's happening with the way that they're Marvel especially are telling these little stories that don't work necessarily into a season format or a movie format or a miniseries format. And I don't know if they have it yet or not, or what they're relying on is valid or not.
I think they're hitting their groove on it. WandaVision, which wasn't supposed to be the first series, which was the first series, was, I think, the biggest experiment of all of them, because those episodes you hate, the first 4 episodes you hate, was their intention. We're going to try doing this and weaving small bits of the story that are going to take place over the remaining episodes into those first couple episodes, but we want to try this sitcom format. For better or worse, that's what we're trying to do for these first couple episodes.
Well, they were praised so much for Captain America Winter Soldier of doing, and then Ant-Man as well, as doing, this is our spy movie, this is our heist movie. Like, they were praised for taking these kind of genres and then applying them to the superhero form.
Right. But I think this more started with Loki, that they now have the entire story, and they're mapping it to a course of 6 episodes and trying to do the hook ending to each episode, but still making it a compelling story for each episode that fits into the overall narrative.
And even more with your Black Widow and your Hawkeye series, where you have a specific goal of introducing a new Black Widow and a new Hawkeye at the end of this.
But I also think, agree or disagree with, because there was some heat I saw online of people like, Disney releasing 1 episode at a time, fuck them. And then they went home and cried on a mountain of money.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to have all the episodes out at once, because when I didn't watch Stranger Things until I was harassed nonstop to watch it. And I watched the first episode and I was so hooked. I watched the next 5 or 6 right away. It happened with Good Omens. It happened with Midnight Mass. But at the same time, Disney is making money hand over fist, so their formula obviously works. We're here talking about it. We did not do a Midnight Mass show, so it does work. Yet.
We might make Christy watch that whole series at some point.
Oh God, you guys you're all fucked up. Just make me watch the longest set of stuff ever.
Yeah, it's our favorite thing to do.
It's a toss-up, though. Do you release the entire thing, or do you release it episode by episode? The reason I'm fine with episode by episode now is because whereas in old-timey TV, where it was episode to episode, week to week, if you didn't watch it at that point in time, you missed it. Now at least you can still go back and watch it whenever you want. If you want to wait till all 6 episodes or whatever come out and watch the entire thing that way, you can do that. If you're fine watching it once a week, but you can't make it at the exact time that everybody else is, you can still go and watch it.
And not only that, I want to be honest, I like to have a continuity. And I think most people like to have some sort of continuity to the thing. Most of those shows that we talk about that we loved didn't matter. And some of them, like The Simpsons, that was great that it happened that way. But some of them, you even as a fan felt weird later on, where it's like, oh, well, why the fuck did they change that all of a sudden? And whatever. And I will agree, even as comic book people, we have to always understand that whatever fucking writer or artist is writing anything, it is going to be different than what, and they're going to take whatever they want, all right? And they're going to leave whatever they don't. But I think that as in TV, that has been a more rare occurrence for things to not only be consistent and have some sort of continuity, never having a continuity with the movies, and also generally having a contained storyline that you can absorb or leave without having to know a ton, which I think they may have an issue with their format.
Christensen pointed it out, and it's very true. What Netflix and all of the and Hulu and all these release them right away. That's a new thing. What Disney Plus is doing is actually what TV was. Yeah. So maybe they're right. I don't know. I don't. And again,
and Amazon does it in between. They give you 3.
It's like here's 3 episodes.
Right.
It's a conceptual thing. I mean, the everything at once is a millennial thing. The episode at a time is a boomer Gen X, early Gen Y thing. So it depends. Yeah. It depends who's watching, which ones they are more preferential to. The millennials generation, they're going to be more preferential to the everything at once because that's what they're used to. Yeah. The slow burn, they're going to hate it because it's not what they're used to. It's not that it's bad. It's that what they're used to. No. There's no right or wrong. Again, you brought up The Simpsons, Smokin' Phat Jet. Yeah, had they released all of season 5 or 6 of The Simpsons at once, that would have been a fucking disaster. Giving us a little bit each week made us fall in love more and more with that show.
But not only that, they didn't rely on you seeing last week's episode to matter what was happening. You can individually take 90% of the Simpsons episodes and never have to watch one Simpsons episode. Yeah. Okay? Wherein these are relying very heavily on other things, knowing other things, which is almost never happens.
Yeah, with the
you didn't need to watch Happy Days for Mork and Mindy to be your favorite show.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. The Simpsons had such smart writing, though. They would even, when they did reference the other episodes, they did it as a fuck you.
Right.
Who Shot Mr. Burns, number 1, has one of my favorite lines in the Simpsons show ever, which is he gets a chocolate from Homer and The Simpsons, and he is like, oh, a box of chocolates from The Simpsons. Who are they? And Smithers says, The Simpsons, your life, all the major events of your life have revolved around The Simpsons for the last 5 years. And I fucking that is brilliant comic writing of I'm just going to come out and say
acknowledging the slate is clean, but it's not.
Yes. Well, then there's the episode.
That's so brilliant.
Then there's the episode seasons later after Who Shot Montgomery Burns. Lisa's throwaway line under her breath of somebody bringing up. We thought Mr. Smithers was shot Mr. Burns. And Lisa's like, yeah, well, that would have made more sense. And the show just continues on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where it's
it was a vote shit, right?
They vote? Yeah. No. You didn't vote for who shot Mr. Burns. The contest was if you figured out who did it.
Oh, that
based
was
on the clues from the first episode.
Through like
The winner.
7-Eleven too, right?
Yep. And then nobody officially won.
Yeah.
There was a controversy to that too. So
Matt Groening.
Now that we're done with our 20-minute Simpsons rant, and which is better for streaming, let's get back to the Night Mooney Moons.
It's fine because we pick up at the exact point we need to coming back, which is after this montage of him doing stuff in his room, we get one more shot of the Rubik's Cube being thrown in the air, coming back down, and a hard cut to Oscar Isaac, as Miranda now calls him, Po Dooney Ex Machina, face down in the grass.
With his jaw broken, seemingly. Like, I like that scene. I like that.
It was
I
good.
like that cut. I like this.
Yeah.
Anyways, go on.
Hard cut. Jaw's broken, slowly gets up off the ground, blood coming out, which is a thing that's kind of a first for real. I mean, they did it a little bit with Falcon and Winter Soldier, but the amount of blood they're showing through certain actions.
For now.
Of certain things that are happening. He gets up and then he. I initially thought he was an open field that had nothing there, but lo and behold, he was in front of Jabba's palace from the Mandalorian. From Boba Fett.
Right.
But he's looking around, and all of a sudden you hear this voice.
Yeah.
Talking to him, but not talking to him. And you finally get an image of Khonshu behind him.
Yeah.
For the first time, and he turns around, and now he's in front of this castle, or he's been outside this castle the entire time, and he looks up, and there's a window broken. The guy looking down at him.
Right.
Who he gently waves at.
This is one of my issues. Like, this is where they went a little too cartoon for me. Was like, this guy can just dodge bullets. Like, I guarantee you, I, not hired, could shoot someone from where that was. Like, I could shoot that guy. 100%. Run, great. 3 shots, I've shot that guy at least once. And between me and another guy with automatic rifles, like, that guy's dead.
Yeah.
Like, if he's not able, like this is where it kind of went to whoop, 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 you know, just
even this
where Marvel goes sometimes, and I get it too, but it was
this whole next scene and sequence very much felt like there isn't any humor in your fucking Moon Nighty Night show. Better add in some humor. Better get a cupcake truck in there, you know, for some wacky do humor. It's Homer at Mr. Burns' birthday. Who's ready to laugh? You know, to go Simpsons again, which is like, it felt so forced to try to get us to try to get a wacky response out of us. That it was, and this is an important scene. He meets one of the major villains, if not the major villain. And the fact that they went completely wackadoo with it was kind of rough for me.
Yeah, well, that and the and that they proved in Hawkeye they have a penchant for bad guys being able to teleport long distances. The 2 guys who are shooting from the top of the castle are now 100 yards away from him down on the ground.
I felt like that was different people. I felt like they were. That was one thing that I liked about this, is the kind of escalation that, like, holy shit, like, there's a lot more of these people around that are totally surrounded. Like, you're playing. So here's one of my other kind of bitches about this, is the bad guy is 100% the bad guy from Jessica Jones. Like, this is David Tennant from Jessica Jones in a lot of ways. Okay. He can control all these fucking people. Even though it's like they do a little bit more like, hey, here's this jackal or what the fuck ever that is coming after you. But, like, they are playing that I have this super charismatic influence over all these people that you might think, like, anybody that he thinks could be an ally, could be an enemy. And we're 100% in episode 5 going to be like, oh, this motherfucker you thought was your homie is gonna betray you. That's my take.
I didn't get that from him. He's just a cult leader, and all these people, and this is his town, and all the people worship him. It was a little awkward that he was still going through the process that he did, this little ceremony thing. It's like everybody knows, so wouldn't everybody of your followers have gone up already by this point in time? And you've judged everybody. But you got to show off. You got to show off what he can do some way. So
no. I'm with little old lady. I am. If I live with a guy who can tell me if I'm good or bad deep to my core, I ain't holding that motherfucker's hands until
do I not have to do that today? Great.
Yeah. I know where the scale is, motherfucker. Yeah. I have eyes and ears, and I'm aware of what I'm doing.
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I know I'm
like,
a piece of shit.
That thing's happening right now? I just got to take a piss real quick.
I'm good. Also,
I'm make sure I'm in the very back every time.
Hey, would you like me to hold your hands? Not today.
No,
maybe tomorrow.
I'm
really looking forward to dinner, and if I hold your hands, I'm gonna fucking die. So,
oh man, I got this real bad rash on my hand right now.
Yeah.
I would love to, but
I can't.
I don't want to touch you with it. I don't want to cause you problem.
Like I know you're immune, but what if the next guy you touch gets that rash from me? Like maybe we should wait.
So we see him do it to
Arthur Harlow's character. A wacky David Koresh.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
So yeah, he runs to town, go through the procession of now we're going to introduce Arthur Harlow and who he is to other people, what mystic powers he has, and what his not so much the reasoning yet, but kind of what he's there for, which is he has some link to Amit, which they talked about the Avatar shortly after. I'll get into that in just a second. Seems to be the Avatar for Amit, so he's given the power of being able to judge people based upon either things they've done or possible things that they're going to.
Which, when he was having his pedo moment earlier with that little girl, he was talking about it.
But it's also kind of tricky. Like, I didn't even know if this scene takes place on our plane of existence. Like, is this a town that's in between two planes of existence? If it is on Earth, which they showed up at the museum at the end, how the fuck did fucking Dooney McDoon get there and back? Right. You know, it's like, does Nighty Moon have teleportation?
Well, it took 3 days, so
yeah,
it seems like he flew.
I think that the idea is that Mark Spector took over, and at some point he got thrown out that fucking window,
or he jumped
out that window, and whatever happened, like he was knocked out, and then this guy took over.
Yeah, he went for the scarab, got the scarab, and either was knocked out or jumped out of the window to escape for whatever was going on inside. And then
and then that's kind of the conversation that Khonshu's having, and that leads me to, like, you know, you changed my mind on all that, from like Khonshu is definitely a totally separate thing, and they're playing that. That's how you give spoilers to the end part where you have it kind of becoming a super being in this universe that, you know, has some sort of special abilities or special augmentation from that guy.
So after Arthur Harlow shows off his powers, one of his guys come up to him as they're taking the 90-year-old woman who's had her life essence drained, a la Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat.
She is no James Kopp, because she knew in her heart she was a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. She woke up every day and said, "I hate Asians." She is just a horrible human, and if you know that, you should know that about yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go visit a deity unless you know you're a piece of shit. If you know you're a piece of shit, hang out in the background.
If I was Amit's avatar, every single time somebody came up as a negative judgment after their life essence 3 hours ago, Future Hitler, ladies and gentlemen. I killed Future Hitler. That'd be my abuse of that power the entire
Well, he kind of does that to convince him later.
Yeah.
I honestly, I have a feeling that like Amit needs to take good souls. I think that there's something in that meaning where that lady says, I never did anything wrong. Like I think about my grandma, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you know, she never meant to do anything wrong, but maybe she did based on whatever standards we might have now.
Yeah.
You know? But
Totally.
so like, or that she might do something in the future. All right. So they're giving you that. Okay.
He says
both of those things,
that.
but I
It
still think
judges
there's
you
something
for
in
things
there.
you haven't even done yet.
Yeah. Something that I think there's something in there to the thing that you haven't even done. Right?
Yeah, he
So
says
this
that.
is an
He
old
says
lady
this sees the future too.
Right. Who's seemingly done nothing. But I think that the God, because when they talk about Amit, they also say her avatar betrayed her. Why? Mm-hmm. Because she was fooling them into thinking they were taking only the bad people, but she really thrived on the good soul.
Yeah.
So I think that. But it's absolutely absurd if that's not how that does work. It's not that.
At least, but they also try to at least make Arthur Harlow seem somewhat good by, like, even when it comes up red scales for her, he's like, no, I believe.
Yeah.
This may be something in the future. I don't know. I'm just the purveyor of whatever is going on. Even the introduction to the first person that was deemed good, he says that this is only a small fraction of the power of Amit that I am putting forth.
Yeah.
So, gives him a chance to level up later. So now they can
which is the exact pitch Scientology gives you.
That's it.
Like Scientology's been doing that shit for years. They're like, hey, come up and grab the polls. We don't know if you're going to be aliens or not. Let's see.
There we go.
So what happens from there?
So from there, he gets told that the person may be around still who stole the scarab, and he does.
Well, first we have a cool scene in a cupcake.
No,
mobile.
No,
it's coming up.
No, this is right now.
Oh,
no. One of his men come up to him as they're taking the old lady off and tell him that the person may still be around. So then he says something in Egyptian, which isn't translated, and I honestly have no idea what he said. Where everybody kneels down except for Oscar Isaac's character, who goes, "Oh bugger," and then just quickly goes down, as if he meant to do it the entire time. So we have
felt very much a Disney character in that.
Yeah, that was your humor still going on right there. And then he walks up to him, starts having a conversation with him, and then asks him about the scarab and some great physical action by Oscar Isaac here in trying to give him the scarab and then not give him the scarab because Khonshu's spirit is preventing him from doing so. And that's when we go to, he starts walking away, gets taken away by a group of the thugs, which I initially, until I watched it the second time, I initially thought it was further away than they were, but nope, it was just a couple feet away from all the people in the town that were right there. And then Stephen blacks out again, and we come back, and everybody's dead on the ground who was surrounding him, and his hand is covered in blood, and so is the scarab.
Yep.
And the little girl and the mother that are behind him don't seem too concerned. This guy seemed to have put his hand through somebody's head to take this scarab back. Who knows what really happened?
I still, like, you hit the nail on the head, like the acting, and I don't think any of us through the rest of the episode will have an issue with the acting from anyone in life. It's fantastic. It's the best that they can do with whatever they've been given.
Yeah, I didn't care for this episode. Probably I've cared the least, but maybe out of the three of us, and it's very well acted. Like there's not a bad performance in this show so far, so that is nice.
Yeah.
Then he gets into the comedy.
Now he gets into the cupcake truck.
Yep.
and we throw on some Wham.
Yeah.
Waiting for Deadpool himself to show up to give his approval for this scene. And it's a whole bunch of back and forth. Bad guys chasing him.
There are four independent comedy writers here in this room talking about this, and we can all tell you there's a difference between getting a laugh and asking for a laugh. And this motherfucking scene couldn't be more asking for a laugh. Let's make the truck a cupcake truck.
Yeah.
And let's make him going in and out of it. And let's play Wham in the background. And it was like stuff that might have been cool or fun in like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 felt really forced in this scene. And it was like, this was the scene that I think for the episode anyhow, where I was kind of like, okay, your show's going to suck. That's how I felt. Even though the scene action-wise was cool. It was a cool action scene, and it had a little bit of a Final Destination in it, or Final Destination 2.
Yes.
It still felt like Homer, Who's Ready to Laugh for me.
It felt a lot like Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles downhill.
Oh God.
Scene, which I should have thought. I should have batted.
Oh fuck.
I didn't see those movies.
You're fine.
Because I wanted
to.
You're
fine. No, you're fine because like there was one cool part, and I think that's where they maybe did it better, at least in this is
okay.
They did save kind of that action absurdity. I mean, I don't know. I was cool with it. I was fine with it. Obviously.
Okay. I didn't hate the scene. It was a fine scene. There's interesting choices in terms of him blacking out, when he come to, and what's going on with that part of it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think both myself and you's big part about it is like I need to see those scenes where he blacked out.
Yeah.
Like I need to make those things as valuable as you're trying to sell me right now in this episode.
Yeah.
I need to see Mark Spector be that guy and then Khonshu be that guy later. Because all you did is give me just the tip for this episode for what Moon Knight I'm watching a comic book superhero thing right now. Okay? Gave me just a tip.
Two things. One, I don't need to see every single scene.
There's two. There's two
No,
scenes.
No. What I'm talking about is every single thing.
No. Okay,
every single thing,
right.
like the entire freeway chase. I don't need to see every single scene that happens in between that for that part of it. The fight where he kills everybody, that'd be cool to see. Where he's in the castle, that'd be cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's going to be interesting is how they portray Mark Spector being an assassin. Whether or not he was doing it or the Moon Knight persona was doing it.
Okay.
But see, I think you could do that in 3 episodes. I think you can go, who the fuck is this Steven guy?
Yeah.
Then who the fuck is this Mark Spector guy? Then how the fuck did Mark Spector get this god to give him these powers?
Right.
By episode 3, I need to know that story. If this episode is going to be valuable to the series, in my opinion.
I think we all agree with you. I think like every one of us is on that page. By episode 3, we need to see some fucking big revelations or big connections here.
But no, I absolutely 100% agree. But what I'm more saying is that the Mark Spector character is the Mark Spector character a badass because he's a badass, or is he a badass solely because he's Moon Knight?
Of Moon Knight.
So in these scenes that were cut out, like it shows at the end of this episode, Mark Spector said he wanted to take over, but what took over was the Moon Knight persona. Did the Moon Knight persona take over in all these instances that Steven blacked out, or was it Mark Spector at times as himself? That's more what I'm referencing is how they portray that character in the story going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. I hope they do portray him more as I was a badass already.
Yeah.
And
they could combine the characters of Mark Spector and Nighty Moon together.
Yeah.
You know, and say he's Bruce Wayne Batman when he's this character. It's he has the same powers as Moon Knight when he's not Moon Knight because
be
it's one character. Who knows?
That makes an interesting point. Like, a lot of people's gripe about this Stephen Grant character is Stephen Grant in the comic books is the Bruce Wayne rich guy. What if Mark Spector is the rich guy that moonlights maybe already as a super spy? And then
but then it also comes to why does he need a this persona? Why does he need it?
Right. But I think that also creates an interesting problem that you can have is giving that weight to say, well, he kind of needed to hide out and going to like some big shit is after me that we're not even going to get to till the next storyline is the reason why I went and hit the fuck out, because it doesn't seem like this bad guy is the reason why he hit out. It might be the reason why he comes out, you know what I mean, of his shit, and you give that bigger thing to later.
Well, it seems what they're establishing is that
the werewolf. Spoilers. So we can go back to his origin.
So we're going.
Werewolf
That's actually happening.
I know it's happening.
There's a Halloween special happening for Marvel.
Yeah.
What it seems to be showing right now is that by that highlighted line in the book during that montage, that the gods are seeming coming back, getting in the lives of man, and they're using these people who are their avatars to take their powers for them to do it. Seems that Khonshu, good or bad, we're not exactly sure where he stands on the entire thing, but is doing something to prevent Amit from getting power for whatever reason, whatever the overall MacGuffin that we'll find out later is.
And Mark Spector is working with.
Yes. Mark Spector was chosen as his avatar for whatever reasons, and we will probably see, hopefully.
This Stephen Grant we've been introduced to is the dim-witted
extra baggage that comes with Mark Spector.
He's the unwitting unwitting accomplice.
Well, we have to find out why this dim-witted version of Dr. Jekyll is. It's like Fight Club had it was only one or two lines, but it made all the sense in the world. When Tyler Durden says to Jack or John, the narrator, character, I didn't invent you. You invented me because you can't deal with your fucking life. That's a very simple line, and that's really dumbing it down, but it makes all the sense, right? Now we understand both characters. You hate yourself, so you invented this because you think that's what you're supposed to fucking be. And then the arc in Fight Club is, as he gets closer to, hey, it's cool that I'm Tyler Durden. It's awesome. Tyler Durden's going to kill the woman you love, blow up everything. He doesn't give a shit if he dies tomorrow. And then you start to realize, oh shit, this is a horrible, toxic person I'm attached to. And I either need to kill him or let him kill everything else. Are we going to see that with this show? I don't think so. So
I feel like it's the opposite.
We want to keep the character around for possible future use,
and I feel like it's the opposite thing.
I'm sure Moon Knight will return for the Blade stuff.
I feel like the toxic character in this, for this character, is the character we were introduced to.
Yeah, Steven.
That is the person who does not allow the results that a superhero needs to have to happen. Okay? We're almost trying to do the opposite in this, where we're creating this human that we're turning into something that is beyond that, which kind of Marvel has created themselves to be able to do, to make this be something that is humanized and then transcends that, and then goes beyond that. I think is something that's very interesting as a character.
If they do it.
If they do it.
Well, yeah, and we're
still just writing this on the fly.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. So then we go back to we hard cut back to Stephen waking up in his bed, which makes you and him think it was just a dream. Weird, realistic dream that he had. And then he starts going about his morning routine. Looks over at his fish and realizes his fish now has 2 fins. Starts this thing where I'm going to take the fish back to the shop where I got it from and start talking to them about it. Say, why does my fish have 2 fins? It's just something that happens with fishing like that. And the lady's talking to him, say, look, dude, you're crazy. And starts to say that he got the fish yesterday.
Told you yesterday.
Yeah. Which that's partially cut off because he then sees the time. Time is 5 o'clock, and he has a 7 o'clock date that day because Friday because it's the next day. So he goes home, starts to get dressed, and realizes he can't wear a suit for shit, and wears kind of normal clothes. Sits outside the restaurant, and then we get this. It's a wonderful scene where he sitting there. The waiter comes by, asks him, "Hey, can I get you anything?" He said, "No, I'm still waiting for somebody," but tries to make a little joke about the situation. He has basically standing him up. He calls her and he gets a short conversation with her where he realizes it's Sunday. He somehow lost 3 days of his life.
It's very romantic comedy.
But after
I dug this scene because if you found out you missed 3 days of your fucking life, what would your natural human reaction be to that?
Yep.
And I gotta say, fucking Dooney McDoon's here fucking did it. Where he was like, I'm a vegetarian. I guess I'm ordering a steak because I'm at a steak place and I have no idea what the fuck's going on in my fucking head. And they're like, how do you want that cooked? And he's like, steak style. I don't even fucking know anything anymore.
No, it's what's the type of cut that you want?
Yeah.
The best.
The best. Yeah, like he's like out of it. Like I don't know.
I don't know what steak is. But how would you like your cooked steak? Good. Very good. And then the worst worst waiter in the world translates that to well done.
Well done. Yeah. Terrible.
I stand by it.
Of course you do.
I like this scene a lot because it was very character driven. It was how would you respond if you lost days of your life? How would you really respond?
Oh yeah,
I thought this episode did a good job.
I would freak out. Miranda, he didn't lose days at his job because they specifically said it was a Friday to a Sunday.
Yeah. He wasn't working that Friday for whatever reason.
But I mean, how did he lose his job? Because
she's like, you're late. She makes a comment, you're late, but she doesn't do anything about it. She just points it out to him. Like
first off,
you're late.
This is after COVID. Working at a gift shop in a museum, they're lucky to have one fucking crazy nut. Right. Okay, I go into Chipotle. And there's kids just rubbing their balls on chicken wraps. You know, they don't give a shit. Like, it's like no one can hire anybody. So they're lucky to have crazy McCrazy Pants who's having weird discussions with underage girls.
I don't know how he can afford a center cut steak.
He's the top pick.
He can't. But the fact that the flat that he lives in and how decked out that is and everything like that should tell you enough about that there is something else going on there. I don't think he knows how he has all this money per se. Just he has all this money that he knows
and the conversation with his mom that is always on a
voicemail. It's always a voicemail.
Is
suspect to something. Whether
like just there's a lot of things that could work out. Look, I've stuck with series for less in the pilot episode many times.
So after the disaster that was that finding out you lost 3 days of your life, you have no idea how, he goes home, eats the chocolate that he got for the date because that's how much he's ever been on a date. Full roses and chocolates on the first date.
No. Again, character moment. Yeah. If I lost 3 days, I might need to sit down and eat a fucking 2-pound chocolate.
That's not what I'm commenting on. I'm commenting on that he bought it in the first place for a first date. Shows how much loser of a character's ever been on a date that I need to get all this stuff for my first date. No, the eating the chocolate, absolutely.
Yeah, 40-something years old, you're not bringing flowers and chocolate.
No.
No, you're bringing Magnum condoms and you're having them fall out of your pocket.
And lube.
Everybody knows that.
Anyway, during this whole thing,
falling off of your dick later on too. Yeah.
You're all too drunk. So he's eating his chocolates, feeding his fish some of the shavings at the top of from the top of the chocolate.
Sure, sprinkles.
Whatever. He's gonna kill his fish again. Doesn't matter. He drops chocolates to the ground. He notices that there is like sand or something on the ground because
markings, scuffs on the floor.
Yeah, it's been moved. And he looks up and sees this misplaced board, which I can only assume is because the Mark Spector persona either intentionally or unintentionally didn't close it up in enough time.
I felt like I was playing a Resident Evil game.
Yep. Hey, there's the odd spot.
All those are good answers.
Gets up there, finds a key.
There's a triangle.
Key with a card that has the letter U on it, and then a cell phone. Which
Razor
cell phone.
Yeah.
Which fortunately they did show you the plug attached to it, so it was charging the entire time because the conversation.
This guy still has that plug.
I've been trying to call you for months. Let's break down that a little bit. The number of times that the Kayla person tried to call him, and the fact that she says she's been calling for months. Now, we're going to find out who the character is later on.
And I believe it said vibrate when it rang. Which means that this thing was up in your walls for how long? For months? You never heard it? You're just like...
It coincidentally never rang while the Steven persona was out.
Now, you motherfuckers, you entitled bastards. I don't even like this episode, and I'll stand by this motherfucker. How many of us have lived in shitty apartments where you heard everything going on in the next door or the next room next to you? I think if right now in my home, I rent a house that's connected to another house, and if I heard a ringing, I would naturally assume it's the other house. Naturally, like, well, that's not my phone; it's right here, and it's not going off. I wouldn't even think a second thing of it.
But this guy seems to live in a flat in Hogwarts with many
top floor, almost like an attic
much
space.
Mahogany.
Yeah, but whatever.
Yep.
I mean, it's just whatever to the scene is to introduce the character Kayla without introducing the character Kayla.
All right,
but a lot of the stuff is like there's some logic here that doesn't make sense. We're gonna go with this.
A fucking cupcake truck motherfucker makes a lot less sense than this shit.
It was
this
there.
I can back up.
So during this conversation, that was the first time he hears the name Mark as being somebody that somebody thinks.
No, that's not true. Because Khonshu says give it to Mark 2 or 3 times in that preview.
Okay.
So this is when he is awake, like because they give you that was all a dream sequence. So he doesn't know it's later yet. And
this time he knows it's 3 days later.
Okay,
but he still has no idea what happened.
Right, but this is when he confirms the Mark.
Yeah.
Right. And then he goes to work.
Well, he attempts to go to work. He gets out of his room, and we have that sequence where he's on the elevator. He goes to the 3rd floor. It stops for some weird reason. Blackout in the hallway. And he goes down to the 2nd floor.
With the old lady. It stops for the old lady.
It stops. The 2nd floor stops for the old lady. It stops on the 3rd floor for some reason first. Then it stops on the 3rd floor, or 2nd floor. And you see this figure walking down the hall hurriedly towards the elevator, the doors that are open. And it's the Khonshu character, which they go, oh, nope, it's the old lady. Who she then goes back up to his floor, gets out, and Khonshu appears to him again in the elevator behind, and he blacks out again for some reason, wakes up on the bus. And now he starts seeing Khonshu more places.
But he
And
also
for everybody
sees
watching this,
Arthur.
no matter what your age is, if you've seen enough horror movies, if an old lady gets on an elevator with you, punch her in the fucking face. Like, this is the one thing movies have taught us, and no judge would convict you of anything.
No.
So just old lady gets on the elevator, fucking punch through
If
her.
every
Punch like you're trying to punch behind her, and just punch her as hard as you fucking can.
if
Yeah.
every like 2 weeks you watch a movie with a creepy old lady that attacks you, which there's plenty to choose from. Okay,
You know, that's
at the very least rotate that every 2 weeks.
Go watch some M. Night
For you.
Shyamalan movies. You'll hate old ladies.
And you
Or-
could
or
probably
it,
get
or
away on a
anything, you know.
judge, on a jury. Probably. I agree.
Yeah, I think there should be that is the group that has been attacked the most, little old ladies. We should form a little old lady group alliance to protect them from horror movies. So
Little old ladies or little children, especially
Yeah,
if they're
creepy
dressed
children.
like
Children are evil.
um,
Children are evil.
and little old ladies.
You
do.
know they are. I know they are.
little Protestants. But especially if you Little House on the Prairie, those kids have any weird Little House on the Prairie vibe.
Burn
You
it all
just-
down.
You just bash. No problem. You're gonna get away.
But yes, as you were saying, or somebody was saying that yes, he does also see Arthur Harlow on the bus as he's getting off. So now he has the thought that maybe everything that he experienced possibly was real for whatever. He goes inside, and the security guard who somehow keeps his job by watching videos up in front of the public all day.
Again, it's a museum.
Yeah.
Most of these jobs are volunteer or
Right.
pay minimum wage.
Right.
No one is here trying to move up.
Right.
I mean, he does make the comment that it's free.
Yeah.
It's free,
Yeah.
and they can just walk in
Free
whenever they
and
want
free.
to.
Yeah.
They're like, okay. So
You saw Black Panther. You know all that shit's stolen.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I do. So then he sees Arthur Harlow further in, and he goes and tells his boss, shove it for a minute. He reminds Ventura, he goes over and talks to him. And then you have a great scene between the two of them, where he's talking about, I thought Stephen Grant was an alien. And he realizes that no, it is this guy, but he knows that there's something else going on, that he's also the Mark Spector character.
Yeah.
Then he goes through the process of getting close to him and showing off that he has influence, not so much mind control influence as David Tennant's character did in Jessica Jones, but just influence over people, that he has this cult and he has them set up all over at places he needs access to, which is cliche bad guy thing that the leader has goons already set up wherever he be.
It's called Scientology.
Right. Right.
That's one name for it, yes.
Yep.
Oh God,
Yep.
I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, we're gonna have to restart. TikTok.
Aw. Why is the timer still going? Still shows live.
No.
Go
No.
ahead.
Tom Cruise, shut this shit
No.
down.
But then he gets real close and
Post it impossible.
does his magic with them. Whatever they're considering powers to be. And it shows that Comet scales can't judge the person.
Your case.
Yeah. There's chaos in you. Because the scales never stop fluctuating. It has no idea which way to go with it. So then he goes away and tells his goons, it's fine. Leave him alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we go through the process of him being there to do inventory at night. He's getting ready to leave now, as everybody except for a few of the janitorial staff are left behind. And as he's leaving, he hears a dog whine somewhere further in the museum. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why you never follow sound in in large places where there's not much lighting. Because
sorry, dog.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry you're hurt.
I hope
Whatever.
one of these janitors go check you out because I
gotta live.
look at the time. I'm gonna Chevy Chase it.
I gotta live. But he goes to check it out, and you get a horror movie sequence of him sneaking through and shadows appearing of a creature coming out of behind statues that are there watching him. But also during this time, you also get the first real cut of the mirror image or reflection.
Yeah.
Not really mirror because it was a glass case, but reflections where he walks past the glass, that one case. And the entire scene, because when I watched it again the second time, during the entire scene, the reflection doesn't match him. Like not even when he walks in, not even when he walks in front of the case for the first time. It does off,
real subtle thing.
Yeah, it is off the entire time. Either just slightly looking a different direction than when he is on the reflection part of it, to the part where he walks off and the reflection stays.
Like again, if you would have done the upside down puddle and then this scene, that would have been enough for the mirror fucking, which I think is still going to be a thing from now on. And
we'll see. Then we get into
I get the mirror scene in his bathroom. We need to see an isolated scene with him alone with this issue. So like I get it, even though it is cliche, it's the weakest of the three. I understand why it's there, I guess.
Then we get Arthur Harlow over the intercom because apparently he's hung around till closing time, or his people let him back in, whatever it happened to be. Telling him to give him the scarab, and his Anubis dog will not tear him apart.
Yeah.
A little chase sequence of him barely avoiding him by using his badge to get into an employee restroom. And now you get the first official conversation, not the statement made in the mirror at home, but the first official conversation with Mark Spector and Stephen Grant. Mm-hmm. Which is weird to me because it's acknowledging that Mark Spector knows of his other characters, but Stephen doesn't. And I think, if I remember correctly from the history of the comics, is they don't really know each other, and it creates an issue that every time one appears is that they are having try to figure out what is going on or what just happened to them prior to them coming back into existence.
I have a theory that I'm going to save for the end of what's going on here. Yeah. But again, might be bullshit, but I think there's a good reason why they did certain things, like blacking out the face of the person in the mirror. Like when it was Mark Spector talking to him, it was blacked out.
Yeah, at home, yeah.
Go on, James.
Well, I actually think keeping them separate like that is a smart way to go. Like, I think that's more interesting. I think if it's just, this is the Tyler Durden side of me, the Venom side of me that we've been calling it, that I just didn't know existed. I think that's a weaker story to go. I think it's better if he doesn't even know each other. He doesn't know himself. The Moon Knight guy obviously knows who this guy is because he left a cell phone and a charger and a key in his home. So he knows who this motherfucker is. So we can't assume that for this. But I will say there's more intrigue. It's a better story if our hero didn't know he had multiple personalities. That's a more interesting story of like, holy shit. If Iron Man one day realized that while he was sleeping, he was, nega Iron Man, and he was going around and killing foresters or something. Like he's just like killing random people. That's a story on its own. And now we have something to work with. And I think we're, again, writing the script for them. I think we're giving them a little too much credit.
But I mean, at the same time, right now, I don't know how you bring out the Moon Knight character at that point. That's the only thing. The purpose that served is that to bring out the Moon Knight character to end the episode.
Yep.
So I'm thinking that they are still doing a thing, especially with this character who's lesser known even than the comic. All right. You're really giving an opportunity. You have Oscar Isaac, you have Ethan Hawke, you have big names in this. You have a character that no one gives that much a shit, the things that you adjust. You have one storyline that you can really pull from that you know people like. And you're taking a lot from that. Okay? You're doing some fun things. I think that the trick that I think that they may be doing, which I think would be very interesting, is what if when he's Mark Spector, he does not look like Oscar Isaac? What if they have a secret actor playing that whole other part, like Brad Pitt played fucking Ed Norton? You already know that there is a Oscar Isaac and there is a Moon Knight in costume character, but what if they're hiding that? You know what I mean? I thought that there was, my thought kind of when that happened was like, what's dude from Wonder Woman? Chris
Pine.
Chris Pine.
Steve.
He looked a little Chris Pine. They're kind of the same build and height and stuff like that, but like that's just some speculation on that. But I think there's still a lot of interesting avenues that they could go on this that would feel satisfying.
If Dooney McDoon is executive producer on this, he's playing all of the roles. Like,
is he?
I love.
He's a producer. I don't know if he's executive, but he's definitely a producer on this.
Hey, I love your concept, Smokin' Fat Jay. It's a smart concept, but we also know actors, and if he's executive producing, fucking each scene's gonna be Dooney ex machina,
Right.
Well,
he's gonna fit in the little girl persona too.
So
he's gonna be that, and an old lady. He's gonna be an old lady in an episode.
So
twist.
I mean, we're at the end of the episode. He turns into Moon Knight, beats the shit out of the Anubis dog, and walks towards camera.
Which is great. Like all that shit looks great. The CGI, fucking amazing in all this. Like, not Halo CGI team on this shit.
No.
Like this, looks great.
We got Marvel money to work with.
And again, and the little addition of it being like a wrapping around him that's like a mummy, Egyptian, like all that shit is great. That's it. That all that was great.
Comment I want to make though was that the promotional material for this show. The first trailer that dropped, and even the second trailer that dropped, other than showing the Moon Knight character doing some fighting, majority of it was from this episode.
Right.
Like what it was hinting towards for the story and everything. The majority of the stuff was from this episode because a lot of it was shown of the Stephen Grant character. And people were making comments about it at the time too. Is like, why are they showing? It's interesting that they're showing Stephen Grant as opposed to Mark Spector. Wonder why they're doing it. Other than
that Scarab opening, I can't think of a single thing in the trailer.
No, they're showing clips and everything like that from future episodes, but I think that like from episode 2.
Jump across the building. That's
but like I said, those are Moon Knight shots. Those are your money shots. You can show those whenever because you know that character is going to be there doing stuff. But in terms of the actual story and everything like that they're trying to show, the promotional material has mostly been which creates a good situation of now you really don't know what might be.
Yeah. That's a good thing. Like in our society, since Star Wars Episode 1, trailers have always ruined the cool moments for us by showing us beforehand. But I think even more so the last 10 years or so, the trailer demands everything. You have to show everything in the trailer. Otherwise, your movie's going to bomb the opening weekend. And I think we're all excited when we go see Spider-Man No Way Home and the Doc Ock scene in the trailer happens in the first 20 minutes. We get really excited because we were like,
and if that was Disney Marvel is the best.
Yeah, if that was your badass scene in the trailer and it's in minute 20 of my 2.5 hour movie, or in this case 6 hour show, I'm very excited. Because where the fuck are we going?
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Let's get to the rating and get the fuck out of here.
We got memes. We got memes to do.
We got memes to do, and we will think about our rating while we do the meme drop.
Yep.
The meme dump.
Yep, meme dump.
Oh, see, that's... We need to...
All right.
We need to cut this for myself.
I'm just going to piss myself. You guys are okay with that?
This is what we're putting... I mean, if you couldn't make it through this episode, you can just watch the meme dump on TikTok.
Yeah, we'll put this on TikTok.
Yeah.
Ready to laugh.
Yeah, here is the going to the cupcake truck to do an action sequence and playing Wham music. Mm-hmm. Who's ready to laugh? Because Moon Knight is so edgy and funny. You know, it's just real. You wouldn't get it. It's real. So yeah, that's what it felt like.
Hopefully that cupcake lady has insurance.
This one speaks for itself.
Yeah.
No comment necessary.
That's right. Well, yeah, for a minute.
It's there for a moment. It's a Boba Fett episode.
I wrote this.
It's a Boba Fett episode of the Mandalorian.
I wrote this joke before we got to the ending.
Okay.
So because we were like at minute, we were at like minute 40 of 47, and Moon Knight hadn't been in the whole fucking episode, and I was like, "Fucking no Moon Knight and Moon Knight the show," and then he showed up in the last 10 seconds.
He was only in it for maybe 3 seconds, really.
Yeah.
So it was half of a I'm putting my suit on, and then 3 punches.
But maybe, like I said, it's the Boba Fett syndrome of the Mandalorian episodes of the Boba Fett show, where Boba Fett's not important to his own show. We don't need him.
There it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
We get it as life stuff.
Yeah.
Is that Pac-Man fault?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
And it's very appropriate with the way his jog.
It's very appropriate. Yeah.
Yes.
He's just able to click it back in. No problem.
So for those who don't know, Sony Pictures is still, as of press time, a real company. It has not fallen into disarray, which it will at some point. And Disney will own Sony someday. We all know that, right?
Yeah.
We all know that's
only a matter
that Marvel will buy Sony. Like, that's what's coming in the next 5 years. But for right now, they are their own company, and Venom is their own creation, and it has made some money. And it has done well, but it is not even though Venom exists in the Marvel universe, they don't have the rights to that character. So then we got Moon Knight, which very much felt like them making their own.
Aren't we going to go see a terrible Sony movie this weekend?
We're gonna go see Morbius.
Yeah. It's Sunday.
Brave Souls.
It comes out tomorrow.
If it's now Thursday, yes, it does come out tomorrow. And nope, not quite. Almost.
No. Oh yeah, Friday.
Friday. Almost been.
Might be.
Why'd I have the ball? I understand the joke. He doesn't quite lose.
Exactly.
The fish,
this is maybe too meta. This might be too far removed from reality.
It wouldn't be appropriate for the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you find that Jekyll and Hyde? I love
it. That's an old movie post. That's an old movie.
It looks like Brando.
That's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
Just too nuts.
So this one, the ultimate example. Also bringing back Marvel character Paul Bettany. Ultimate example, you've seen Da Vinci Code. The 5-minute long self-flagellation scene. Paul Bettany beating the shit out of himself naked.
Yeah.
But I got kicked out of the theater because I masturbated to it. Sure. I'm the villain. Go right ahead.
Get this one, super video game anime one. This is only for James Christy, or for James Christy.
Christy.
From the amalgam universe of this show.
So the character on the bottom is from that new Final Fantasy game that just came out about 2 weeks ago. The original trailer for that
What's
game.
that from?
Stranger in Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. The original trailer that dropped for this game that Square Enix released at E3 last year for this game, they said they referred to a character by the name of Chaos no less than 30 times in a 3-minute trailer.
Yeah, that sounds very Final Fantasy, though.
Yeah, no, it is, but that's what the whole joke is, because as soon as he said that, I was like, yep.
Good.
In case you're wondering who the voice of Khonshu is, there you are.
It is.
The Olieri from Mama Day.
They look like they could be related, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is the truck from the movie.
100% like, yeah, a Final Destination. Like, yeah.
Final Destination. That is this truck.
Well,
Thank you. There it is. There it is right there. That's how he got away from those guys earlier. There's the meme dump, ladies and gentlemen.
We got one more special one.
Wait. Oh, yeah, we got one more. We got one more.
We got one more special one.
Hello.
this is so obscure. No one in our audience will get this.
Don't care.
No one will get this.
I don't care. I don't care.
The two people that would find this funny are both on this podcast.
Yep. That was three of us. Jesse's seen it too.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, three of us.
Because Jesse knew what scene specifically I wanted to cut when I asked for this.
I didn't want to speak for Jesse. It's a respect thing.
Yeah, no, he's seen it. That's, ladies and gentlemen, the movie In Bruges. You've seen that. The town that they end up in looks a lot like Bruges. At least it was shown in the movie. And
you don't need to have seen that necessarily.
No, not necessarily.
In comedy, we call that going from A to C.
But I heard about that.
Where we skip over B, and if you didn't know B, you're fucking lost.
Yeah.
So
I tell you right now, if you've never seen In Bruges, that it is a comedy, but that is one of the more depressing parts of the movie.
I would hope that's one of the most. I would hope that's one of the more depressing parts of that movie. Having not seen that movie, like I would hope that is one of the more. Because if there's more,
but getting to the point of why he does that makes it even more depressing. So
yeah, I was about to say like there is more depressing stuff in the movie than that. And Bruges is funny because life is pathetic. Mm-hmm. Like that's part of it, and it's very much about hitmen. If hitmen said really how they're feeling.
Say that. Say that.
He ends up calling Snape as the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Snape's the
bad guy in that one. Yeah.
All right.
But Ray Fiennes also has one of the other better lines in that movie where he's at home after a conversation with Brendan Gleeson's character. He's bashing the phone. His wife comes in and says, his wife goes, "You're yelling at a fucking inanimate object." And Ray Fiennes, either because it was in the script or just because he did it improv, his reply to her is yelling back at her, "You're a fucking inanimate object."
And I would argue, like Jesse brought up a good point about like him saying cunts. He's cutting off one of the best parts is the end of that scene. He is like, "You're just a cunt, Harry, and you got cunt kids, and all you're gonna do is have more cunt kids." And fucking Voldemort goes, "What did my fucking kids do? Leave my cunt kids out of this." And I fucking die laughing at that because that's so real. Of like, hey, my kids are cunts,
Right.
But they have nothing to do with anything we're talking about. You're being a dick. And so, such very good writing in that movie. It's very well written.
Yep. All right, so now we can go to the rating.
All right, rating.
All right.
Start with you, James. We're doing moons.
Moon phases.
Moon phases.
I'm going to give this, I might be the lowest rated, but I was a little underwhelmed by this first episode. We don't have a motivation for our lead character. None of the stuff was really fleshed out. We didn't see Moon Knight until the last 3 seconds of the episode. The comedy in it was forced. The exposition was forced. I didn't really like it. It did have some intriguing ideas. It did have some very good acting. It had some very good scenes. I'm going to give this 2 moon phases out of 5.
So quarter moon.
Quarter moon.
Quarter moon is what that would be. Yep.
All right.
I'm gonna go super astrology nerd here. I am giving it a half moon, which would be a middle way. Half moon waxing.
Look at it. That's a 3.5, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
There you go.
I was getting ass shakes. You're welcome, Ryan.
I'm here to translate that for you guys.
we haven't chosen our icon for the rating yet, so it may be a thing.
Yeah, so it's going to be asses.
I like it.
Just a bunch of asses on screen. A half moon waxing, which means it's going at 3.5. I was debating whether or not give it a 3/4 or a half, only because I like the episode a lot. I like a lot of choices they made with how the episode was laid out. But that second episode that we've talked about is needed to make this a full episode.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I can give it up to the full 3/4 moon phase on that or not. So I'm going to go half wax.
I'm going
be super
3/4.
to see our reviews of episodes 2 and 3 compared to this. Like, it might be interesting to review all the first 3 episodes together.
I agree.
As a thing.
I agree. I'm doing almost the opposite side that you're doing, because I'm going to give this 3/4 a 4. But I think that depending upon what they do in the next 2 episodes, it can only go down for me.
Okay.
I think that I'm real excited about what they can do, and it can either stay the same, or if it doesn't do some things, I'm almost holding it hostage right now to keep me at a 4, because I do think that it can't be a 5. Like, I love the ideas it planted in my head until I know they come to fruition within at least these next 2 episodes. I can only give it a 4. I don't really see the way that I could ever give it a 5, because I don't think they delivered the things in this episode that I think they needed to give me a reason to give it a 5.
Yeah, I mean, even if the second and even the third episode work wonderfully and make it an overall first 3 episodes is a full moon 5, the first episode still suffers from the fact that needed the second and or third episode to get it there.
And this goes to that thing where it's like, should it be a Netflix drop everything? Should it be an episodic Disney thing? Should it be maybe something like Amazon's doing, where they're dropping at least a few at a time? Like, maybe you do need to start scrutinizing some of these series in that, like, you don't even need to be like, I'm doing 1 and 2. Just make it one long, however long episode.
Here's another question. Out of all the Disney Plus Marvel shows, is there any single episode you gave a 5 to?
No.
I haven't been on long enough
4.5, I think,
for that. Yeah, I think 4 is the highest I ever gave anything.
The only episode I ever gave a 5 to was, I think it's Loki episode 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah, the one where they were on the planet that was dying.
Yeah.
The planet where you're dying, they meet God and they cut his fucking head off.
Yeah.
and then it ends with Loki dying. That was the only episode where I was like, not only are you a 5 because it's a brilliant acted, brilliant shot, brilliant subtext, brilliant script, but I'm excited about both the shit I already saw and the shit coming next. And really from that point, all I could think about was you could do anything. You killed Loki at the end of the episode after they cut off God's head. I was like,
Right.
I can't think of a show I've liked that was that ballsy. You know, there's no Seinfeld episode that ends with Seinfeld cutting off the head of God and then getting stabbed to death. You know, there's no.
Never know. Netflix could buy them and do new episodes. Don't give away great ideas, James Kopp.
Yeah, comedians in cars killing God is my favorite show. No, and so I always think about that because that's the only episode I ever gave 5 stars to. Can Moon Knight have that? Absolutely, and we have things here set up that they might achieve that. But yeah, this first episode for me still too bland for me to get super excited.
That's fine. And one thing you said earlier that you said that you were comparing it to earlier the other Marvel TV shows. I'm not yet because it's not tied to anything, because it's something new, and because it's the first episode. I'm not going to tie it to the other shows in terms of comparing it yet. By the end of this, yes, I will. That's one thing we do, but this first episode, I kept it away from that.
Okay.
Because it's too soon in the series to determine.
Well, it's good. It seems like we have different aspects that. Well, we'll see.
Yep.
Listen, guys, thank you very much. James Kopp, you're going to be gone next week, but both myself and Matt will be here, and we'll be talking about episode 2 of Moon Knight on Workin on the Night Moon. I'm Smokin' Phat J.
Matt Christy.
And James Kopp.
Working on the night moon. Trying to get that Wednesday